This provisional 1500 almost ruined my birthday. This is July 3rd, my birthday, and I'm playing the first round of the Sacramento Chess Championship against Kyle Jakubowski, and it is his third tournament. He's played 2 quads in Oregon, but so this is his third tournament ever, and this guy is extremely good. This is a game in 90 plus 30 seconds per move, so kind of a longer game, and I gotta be quiet because my roommates are sleeping because I'm actually recording this on July 4th. This is also a no engine recap until the very end of this video, so hopefully by going through these moves together, we can hopefully learn something through this process. I play knight f3, so I decided for this tournament that I'm going to mainly stick with knight f3. Maybe I'll throw in some e4s, but mainly stick with knight f3 for the most part. He played d5, very principled. I start my fianchetto on the king side, and to castle king side. He goes knight f6, I go bishop g2, he goes e6. So he's going for a d5, e6 setup, very solid approach. And we see in the game, I go c4. So, this is the way I like to play this this opening. I castle first, then I start putting some pawns in the center afterwards. And after c4, he goes c6. So Kyle maintains an uber solid approach. He's like, I ain't falling for no tactics. I'm doing the triangle setup. But this triangle setup, isn't that bad at all. I'm just going to go b3 and bishop b2. So I got the double fianchetto setup. Now, I don't have to go for this. I could go d3. I could go d4. I could try to play d4 and then knight c3 and then try to play e4 at some point. Like, all of these are totally legitimate ways to play. But I like to play b3 and go for this double fianchetto setup. I'm trying to get Kyle into uncomfortable territory. I'm not trying to win quickly. I'm just trying to get a position that I'm very comfortable in. And he plays b6, so he's going to fianchetto his own bishop to b7 and then play c5. So uber solid approach. I don't face this very often, but I also don't really play this opening online very often, and I don't play that much over the board. So I'm actually very new to this opening, and I'm recently over 2,000 for the first time of my life. So I'm rated 2017, and as of 2 weeks ago. Okay, so after he goes b6, I go d3. I just want to finish development. I want to play knight bd2, and maybe play e4 at some point. He plays bishop b7. I go knight bd2, and he goes c5. Here, I was debating on a couple things. Usually, the antidote to c5 in a lot of positions is to take, and if pawn takes, you go d4, and you're basically fixing the black's pawns and giving them an IQP in a lot of positions. So if he takes, for example, this is a very comfortable position for white. It's probably not winning, but it's just like a slight positional advantage. So maybe I should have done this. Now. I don't know why I didn't. Like, if he takes with the knight, I shouldn't really be concerned about this move. I can still go for d4 potentially, but I feel like I wanted to make a couple more preparatory moves first. Like, my rooks aren't even connected yet. However, he hasn't finished development himself either. So maybe this was the right plan, to go just c takes, and no matter what he takes with, go d4, open up the position with an equal game. But instead he'll go queen c2, and now he has this interesting moment where he could potentially go d4. I annotated some of these moves, so you can see that I note this as exclamation point question mark, which that means interesting. Like, it's an interesting move. I don't know if it's good, but it's very interesting. And so black wins connect 4, and probably the most principal thing white can do right now is play e3, trying to undermine the center. He could go knight c6, and then I could take, and then he could take with the pawn or the knight. Let's say the pawn. There you go. So, and then he can try to play e5, and I could play rook e1 to stop him from playing e5. He could play bishop d6 trying to play e5, but then he loses this pawn. So so this is probably good for white. This pawn, I would argue, is more of a weakness than a strength, but it's not super obvious. And I can also go a3, b5 as well. So I thought d4 was interesting. He could also just take the pawn on e3 and then try to go knight g4, attacking the pawn, and then I would have to defend, and then he could go knight c6 or bishop f6, and I go d4 here, and then maybe also h3, This position was very interesting. I didn't know what to think about it, but I liked how imbalanced this is. I have the open F file, he has the open D file. This pawn could be weak, this pawn could be weak. Meanwhile, I'm probably going to attack on the king side, most likely, get my pieces in. And yeah, so I'm very happy with this imbalance, and we got a game. This is just a chess game. But he doesn't do that. He goes back with his knight. And so now I chop, chop. And I gave myself some exclamation points because I thought these were good moves. I thought this was the correct transformation of the position, especially because he went back with his pieces. He didn't go forward at all. He didn't finish development. He went backwards, and there was no reason for him to do this. I think he said after the game that he was worried about like e4 in some cases, but I mean e4. Yeah, I mean, if I go e4 now, he could consider playing d4, which would be bold and very, very interesting. Because now White's plan is probably just to move the knight and go f4 and to have a bunch of space on the king side. That's probably the goal for White. But it would be very interesting if I did go e4 now. I could also just chop first and still go d4. So I could still do that if I want to. But just developing a piece is more principled, and my queen I actually don't think is super good on c2, but maybe this was still the right play. I'm honestly not sure, but I think it's a reasonable move nonetheless. So we make this transformation of the position. I play rook ad1, and my original plan was to meet bishop f6 with e4, and I thought to myself, okay, well, if he takes me, I take, and now I'm attacking the bishop on f6. If you take the pawn, then I can take, and then if you go here, then I can maybe go queen b1, for example, and if you take back, then I can take here, and this maybe isn't super good for me. I can also consider queen f5, maybe. G6 sort of looks annoying though, so I'm not sure if this is good or not. I don't know what's the benefit of that move. Why did I think this was good for me? I don't think this is good, but like, you just take the pawn and then I don't think it's anything impressive. So I'm not sure why I liked it. Why did I like this move? We probably start here. Oh, but then there's some fork. Then there's some forks. Okay. So my original idea of e4 I don't think is that good. Because you can just take. Right? Why did I think this was good? This is not good. This is not a good transformation of the position. I think I completely misevaluated e4. Well, anyways, I wasn't going to play e4 because actually knight b4 immediately, queen b1, bishop a6, attacking the rook, and then knight d3. So this is actually what I calculated. So it attacks the rook, attacks the bishop, and I lose the bishop pair for like literally no reason. Like why did I lose the bishop pair? That was stupid, and now his bishops are crisscross applesaucing in my position, and it doesn't look very pleasant at all. So So I didn't go e4, although that was one of my ideas. But I thought the rook, it does x-ray the queen and get out of the corner. So I thought it was a good move, and I wasn't really sure where I wanted to put my rooks. Like, do I want my f rook on d1 or do I want my a rook on d1? I thought my f rook actually belonged on e1, so it could support. So like both rooks on the two center files, I thought was better. Although you could make an argument that maybe one rook should be on the c file too. I go queen f5. I didn't have to. And, well, right now this pawn is hanging, although it's sort of hanging but sort of not. A3 is also sort of a consideration as well, just to get rid of any knight b4 nonsense. I think that's also a reasonable move. And I wasn't sure, after pawn takes d4, I'm probably going to win back this pawn, but it's kind of annoying actually. Like, if I try to go queen d3 to win back this pawn, there's some like knight e5 stuff, and it's just like, ugh, this is annoying. Like takes. I can't go here because of check, which is super annoying. So discovered attack on the bishop. So and then I have to move the queen away, and I still haven't won this pawn yet. Like I can go back, but then I can go here, I guess. So I probably would have won the pawn back anyway. So maybe just going a3 is like a simpler solution. But instead I go queen f5. He takes the pawn with his knight. I take, or he doesn't take back. He throws in g6, which is very, very interesting. And I thought about knight e6 for way too long. Like I legitimately, I was thinking about this move for way too long because my idea was like, oh man, if he takes, then I can take because I'm up a piece, right? Because I was up a piece. My knight's hanging, my queen's hanging. And so I was like, oh yeah, this is perfectly good. So I'm just gonna go queen knight here, and then takes. Now I'll be up a pawn. I thought I was like, oh, I'm up a pawn, but like, no, I'm not. I lost a pawn. So once again, my evaluation was just completely wrong here. And I thought, it's king g7. We can trade. And I thought like I had pressure on the d file. But the thing is, firstly, this is not that good. That's the first thing, because firstly, like in this position, he could probably, if I go knight of3, he can go d4 if he wants to. He doesn't even have to. He can get the connect 4 though, which is cool. But no, this isn't that good. This is not good. This is not good at all. Actually, d4, you might have to worry about some tactics. Some tactics here with the bishop being loose, because now if you trade, I'm gonna go check. So there's some tactics here. But anyways, I don't think this position is that good for white. But during the game, I was like, oh, this might be pretty good. And my idea was, oh man, if queen e7, then I can take. And then if he goes knight takes, then I'm just not doing that good. I thought it would work, but it didn't work at all. And I was trying to get some nonsense to work. I was just like, oh man, if like queen, because if he take, because basically the idea is that if he takes my queen, I take his queen. If he takes my bishop, I take his bishop, and then now I'm up a piece. Like that's the idea of that's the idea. It's a stupid idea. That's the issue. But I was with queen f4. He went bishop e5. I thought about going queen h6. I was like, well, he can go takes, and if here, then he can hit me with tempo, and then I can go back, and then it's probably fine. Like, doing this is probably fine, but do I want the bishop on e5, or do I want it on g7? And I was like, I don't want it on g7. I think g7 is a nice home for the bishop. I'm going to bring it back, bring my queen to d3 here. He was setting up an x-ray, so if I went here, he could take. I cannot take back because it's defended by the pawn, so I would just lose a piece and lose the game. So I have to go queen d3, he takes, I take, he takes, and I go rook f e1 just to guard my e2 pawn. And so maybe I should have actually gone queen h6, like simply because like if he did delay bishop g7, then I can play knight of 3 and open the d2 square for my queen. And then if he went bishop g7 immediately, maybe it's sort of all the same thing. Yeah, in some cases I could go like queen h3 if I really want to. I don't really know if that's good or not, to be honest. And then he could take, and I could go here still. And I don't know if my queen is good on the square. It's probably stupid on the square. Why is it on that square? It's so bad. That's not a good square for the queen. So maybe what I did in the game was good. Was the best way to play. Thinking about it out loud right now. Okay, so then we do this, rook f e1, knight here, and so the dust settles after all is said and done, and I'm getting lower and lower and lower on time. I mean, on my stupid knight e6 move, I was like, oh man, I thought like 15 minutes on that move. It was so bad. Like, oh my goodness, I think so long on bad moves. But he plays rook ac8, putting a rook on an open file, very sensible. And I go knight f3, like helping blockade. So now my queen, rook, and knight but all work to blockade the d4 square. So when your opponent has the isolated queen's pawn, you want to control the square in front of the pawn. So very, very basic positional stuff. And here you can see, like, hey, I'm just going to play. Oh, well, this was actually a really interesting moment. So I could play e3 here. That's reasonable, controlling the d4 square. I forget why I didn't like it. Why did I not like it? I also could have played e4 here, which is also interesting, just taking advantage of the pin. But I don't think it's anything to write home about. Like, for example, knight c7, and now, like, do I maintain this pin or do I take? If I take, then he can just take back, and I don't think it's super impressive. I don't think it's super impressive here. I wasn't convinced that liquidating the center was the right idea, because now if I win his IQP, Then now I have an IQP that's very weak, and we just liquidated a center with symmetrical pawn structure, which doesn't seem very good. I don't think I have enough winning chances. But I'm trying to remember my idea with queen b2. I wonder if I got the move order wrong. Did I get the move order wrong? No, queen d6 must have been played. Because I don't think rook c5 was played yet. Yeah, queen d6 must have been played. I inputted this game from memory because I couldn't find my notation sheet. Maybe it's in my car, in the rental car. I'm not 100% sure, to be honest. But yeah, queen d6. Queen b2. Why did I not go e3? Why did I not go e3? Well, firstly, what this move does, now the rook x-rays the queen with my queen getting out of the way. This queen also controls this very long diagonal. So there are some ideas to go like knight e5, knight g4, to go knight f6, go for a fork, target all the weak dark squares around the king. So there's some like nasty intentions potentially. Also, now I can double up rooks on the d file to add more pressure on the d5 pawn. So there's actually so this move could be pretty good. I think definitely like white is slightly better here. Black's position is very solid. So it's gonna be hard to win this game. But he goes knight g7, which I put in as a mistake because what the heck is that move? I think the intention of this move is to control the e4 square. So e4 is harder to do. Although in this case, I can still play e4 if I want to. I can still play e4 if I want to actually. Which is interesting. Maybe I should have played e4. Once again, I think my d pawn becomes too weak if I ever take. So I never think taking is an actual threat. So I like the fact that I didn't take. But I go knight d4. So I'm like, okay, well, you step your knight back, I step my knight forward, and then he goes back. So, it's kind of an admission. So this is very mature. My opponent, he's probably mid-teens, maybe late teens. I don't know. I have such a hard time telling people's age, to be honest. I'm not very good at it. But this is a very mature decision to go back, knight g7 then back. Because he thought for a while on knight g7 and then thought for a bit on going back. So he was definitely like trying to find the best moves. And I respect it. I respect having the maturity to admitting that knight g7 was a bad move and just going back. But now I gained 2 moves. So this is Black's position. I made 2 moves, and Black's position is the exact same. I go e3 here, so now I have a full blockade on this isolated queen's pawn. He goes rook c5, and now I go rook d2 here. So now if he doubles up, I'm going to double up myself, and now my queen and my knight and my rook, we all guard the infiltration squares. He could take my knight, but now I take, and yeah, who cares if he infiltrates? My rooks do a lot of good work here. There are some trickiness potentially. If he goes like rook 8 c2, and all our rooks are staring at each other, which is kind of silly. So you might be able to force some sort of trade like that, and some sort of infiltration like that. But yeah, I would have to debate on what I want to do. Like, do I want to go h4? So then if rook c8 to c2, I can go king h2. So getting out of this pin, like maybe this is the right decision. This is so silly. Look at all these rooks right beside each other. So I have to make a decision on how I want to proceed. But he did not do that. Instead, he went knight g5, and he's saying, hey, my e6, my knight on e6 is not super good. This knight went from b8 to d7 to c5 to e6 to g7 back to e6 to g5. And now he's like, you know what? I need to put my knight. I need to go to e4, attacking the rook and advancing the position. Hitting f2, maybe it doesn't matter, maybe it will matter. And if you ever take my knight, then your light squares around your king are going to be very weak. So actually a very, very decent idea, a good idea actually. And I go b4. And here I was getting to very, very low on time. I mean, at this point, I probably have around 7 minutes after b4. And, it's game at 90 plus 30, so 7 minutes is very low on time. He goes rook c4, and one of my original intentions was to go knight b5, attacking the queen. And if he takes my pawn, I can take his queen. After he takes, I go knight d6 here, attacking the bishop, attacking the rook. If you defend the bishop, I can take, and then I can play bishop takes d5, attacking the rook here. If you go here, the discovered check, the discovered attack doesn't work because the rook can take. So so I would end. So if I do nothing, like if I go h4 here, you can go knight f3 here, doing a triple fork because my bishop is pinned. So that's why if he played rook d7, I would go rook ed1, and then if you play the move like a5, for example, to go a4, a3, and rook b2, for example, then I can go h4, knight e6, takes, a rook takes with check, and now I'm up a pawn. And I was trying to figure out if this is good enough to win the game. Like genuinely, like I calculated this far in, and I was like, is this good enough to win the game? And I wasn't sure. I wasn't sure if this end game was winning enough. Like I know white is better, but this 2-on-1 is nothing to laugh at. This is not anything to laugh at. Like black has very easy counterplay. Push peas down the board. Like this is very simple, easy counterplay, and I just wasn't able to calculate it. I still don't know. Like I if I had to guess, this is not enough to win the game for white. Like yes, white has a passed pawn in the center, but this passed pawn easily blockaded by the king. Meanwhile, the 2-on-1 is going to be rolling down the board. It might not be easy for black to push, but let's just put some moves on the board. For example, like king e6. And a4, or let's go king f1, a4, king e2, a3, and let's say king d1 or king d3. Let's go king d3, for example. And in this specific case, now rook b2 doesn't work because I can take, and go here, and I should be winning. But he doesn't have to play like this. Like maybe there's other ways black can play more slowly. But I was super scared of this. Even though I'm up a pawn, like is this good enough to win? So that's why with very low time, after knight b5, or after rook c4, I think I got down to 3 minutes after this move. I played a3. I said, like, you know what? I'm not gonna go for it. I'm not gonna go for it. Like I don't think this is winning. Like I'm not sure. Also, after knight b5, he doesn't even have to take the pawn. He doesn't even have to take it. He could go queen c6 or something like that. He could go queen c6. Oh wait, no, he can't go queen c6 because of bishop takes d5. That was one of the traps guarded by my rook. And if he takes my queen, I take his bishop, and now I want a pawn. So I do have some tricks up my sleeve. Admittedly, I do have some tricks up my sleeve. But yeah, I really just wasn't sure. I really wasn't sure. Because after knight b5, he also can go like queen d7 here, which also seems super annoying. And I wasn't sure what to think about this. If I take this pawn, my knight looks awfully trapped on the edge of the board. Like bishop a8 here, I think would trap my knight. Although queen a3 now, defending my knight, rook c7. And this just looks like no bueno to me. No bueno to me. So not a happy time for anybody named Nathan on his birthday. So b4, a3, knight e4, rook c2, we double up, and here he has another very interesting moment here where he can play knight d2. I gave it the exclam, like maybe this isn't the best move, but it's super fancy and kind of cool. The idea is, you know, if I take, this rook is hanging. Like that's the idea, so I can't, so this knight is untouchable. And oftentimes, if a move looks impossible, but is possible, you should see if it's good. You should check if it's good, because sometimes it can be a good move it can be good to do a move that looks impossible because it's really good, and your opponent probably overlooked it because it's impossible. So I knew before doubling up my rooks that like knight d2 is possible, but I also didn't find a better alternative. What am I going to do? Not double up my rooks. So if he played knight d2, you know, if I took, you know, he cannot take with his rook because now his knight is actually hanging because now there's only one of his rooks in the c file. So if I took back with the rook, if I took on c4 with the rook, he had to take back with the knight, attacking my queen, and this just looks like a very pleasant position. You know, if he ever moves, like let's say I went like queen e2, for example, if he ever moves his rook to like d8, for example, which would be a bad move, I could just sacrifice my rook, so then to win his bishop. So the bishop is kind of loosey-goosey on the b7 square, so he has to be cognizant of that. But like in this position, like I have to go queen b3 here, and like like this knight just seems really good on the c4 and e4 squares, and I don't really think I'm better at all. I'm not better. I think he's done a good job of neutralizing. I still have neutralizing a lot of my play. I still have a target on d5, but nothing. But he only has one weakness. There's in chess. There's the principle of two weaknesses. You need two weaknesses to win a game, because you can try to target both of them, and your opponent has to spread out the resources to defend both of them. But if your opponent has one weakness, which in this case my opponent only has the d5 pawn as a weakness, they can defend. That's the typical rule of thumb in the chess world, is that one weakness is defendable, but two weaknesses is a lot of times not defendable. So I think he should have gone for this, but instead of knight d2, he traded and then played a6. So he's saying, hey, my position's super solid. There's no way you can win. And honestly, I agree with him. But I still have a target. I still have him to play for. So I'm going to keep making moves here. So I played knight e2, which I think is a mistake. Although I don't know if it's actually a mistake. It's kind of tough to say. The idea is that he goes queen c6 and then goes queen c4. And I think down to 4 seconds. After his move with queen c4. So my idea was like, yes, queen c6 is coming, but hey, my knight and my queen guard the infiltration squares. That's kind of my idea. And I thought I had some bishop takes e4 tactics, but they didn't work. Like in my low time, I thought that queen c4 was not possible because of bishop takes e4, because he cannot take back with the pawn because his queen would be hanging. But of course, he could just take back with the queen, and this was what happened in the game. But of course, I wasn't sure, like, do I want to take? I don't really want to take. I want to go queen d4. So then if he takes, then I take here. But the thing is, my knight would be hanging. So I was like, oh my gosh, so I'll take on e4 first and then go queen d4, because now I'm attacking b6, and if you give a check, I don't care. I'm going to try to target this pawn. If you go b5, maybe I can try to safeguard my king a little bit, go knight c3, attack the queen, defend e4, and like maybe this is okay here. I'm attacking d5 as well, but then I'd be pinning myself, but then I can play e4 to defend myself, so maybe it's all good. And I like my chances in this endgame. Even though my king is weak, the game goes on, and the queen and knight attacking pair is very versatile. So, but the thing is, so I think instead of that, like maybe instead of that, I could have gone, maybe I could have gone b5. Maybe this was a more interesting approach. Because after queen takes a3, I could go queen c7 here, attacking the bishop, and the bishop is actually trapped, which is kind of insane. If he goes queen a1, not queen c1 check, queen c1 check would hang the queen. So queen a1 check, bishop f1, and then if queen b2 attacking the f2 pawn, I could go knight e2, and now the bishop is still trapped. And so I think this is actually, he could go knight c5 here. I could take the pawn on b6, knight's hanging, and here both sides need to be very careful. Maybe you got queen c2 here to defend the knight, but then knight d4 here, and like maybe this is okay, but maybe it's not. I guess in this case the bishop is hanging on a6, I guess. So this is very, very sharp position, but I think I should have gone for it. I think I should have gone for b5. He doesn't have to take on a3. He could probably just take here, but now I take here, and I got play. I got play. Like maybe queen c5 is the move he would have chosen. Actually, after here, he could have gone queen c5 immediately, perhaps. Maybe this is what he would have done. But then I could always consider like b takes a6, and if takes, I could maybe. This is probably not enough to win. Yeah, this is probably not enough to win, because like knight here, bishop c4 maybe. I don't think this is enough. I don't think this is enough to win. So kind of similar to what happens in the game, but I think b5 would have been an interesting try. I think like maybe maybe h4 at some point to just give space for my king, and then move my queen around. Could have been good as well. So maybe be a bit more patient. But overall, this game should be equal. It should be an equal game. I play knight e2 though. When I play bishop takes e4, queen d4, and he does not need to trade queens. He could give a check first. And then if I go king g2, go back to e4, and I could. And what am I going to do? Do I go like here? If I go here, then he can repeat and do a 3-4 repetition. If I go here, I mean, it looks like I'm just getting checkmated, like very, very, very quickly, actually. Like now, like immediately. Oh wait, whoopsies. Whoopsies. I guess I would have to go here. And yeah, I mean, I'm just losing the knight. So he could have gone for this because at some point I would have to trade queens on his terms, and then he has no weaknesses anymore. This pawn on e4 is going to be perfectly defended. I have nothing to play for. But instead, after I put queen d4, he just takes. And he said after the game that like, hey, this position is equal, and I agree with him. Like, this position is equal, but like, why give yourself a weakness in an endgame? Like, just why? Like, you don't have to give yourself. Yes, the position is equal. Like, the computer can draw this with both sides very easily, but why would you do this? Like, why would you? Why? Like, why would you give yourself a weakness in an endgame when you don't have to? Like, you don't have to give yourself a weakness. So, adjust. Okay. So, he goes king g7. I go b5. Just like poking and prodding a little bit. This is probably not the best winning attempt because we're trading more pawns. But my idea was that, like, hey, both these pawns are isolated, and so I can maybe target both of them. He goes king f6. I go knight c3. Just hitting the d5 pawn, and then he goes king e6, which I put as a mistake. Although this game is still drawn. It's still a draw after this move. So maybe it's not really a mistake in a literal sense. I think he didn't want to play king e5 because right now my pawns and my knight, they guard all three squares. If I go king f1, he can go d4 and force a trade and activate his king. But the issue is if he goes d4 now, I can go f4 here, and my knight and pawns force his king away from the defense, and I win a pawn. So I guess that's why he went king e6. He didn't have to go there though. He could have gone king e5, would have been perfectly fine. And I went knight b4. So this is the idea. So he kind of, this is the trickery of the knight, because now he goes b5. Then I have a fork attacking his king. So he goes king d6 here, so I win a pawn. But honestly, if he goes bishop c6 here, I think this would have been the best move, because it cuts off my knight's escape squares and his pawn with his bishop, and his king basically trap my knight. What am I supposed to do? If I try to run my knight out the window with a move like knight c8 to go knight e7 or something like that, then maybe king d7, knight b6, king c7, and now the knight is trapped. So I have to be very, very careful. I assume he missed king d7. I assume he thought king c7, knight e7, but I assume he missed king d7 here. I only have two squares here. I could go here, but then bishop a4, and now my knight is going to get slowly trapped. So I think he completely missed the idea of this knight being trapped. So thankfully he missed the idea and gave me some winning chances, because he went king c5, I went check, he went king b5, I went knight e5, he pushes his pawn, and notice how I haven't even moved my king at all, which is kind of insane. But I knew that my only chances in this game were to trick him. That was like legitimately my only chance in this game was to trick him. I went back, so I kind of goaded him to push his pawn forward to f5, and now, it looks like, this knight on d7, it's to, meet king a4 with knight c5 check, forking him again. That would be very sensible. However, really, after, bishop c6, which I put as a blunder, knight f8, and now this endgame is winning, because this is a typical pattern in a knight endgame where the knight attacks the base of the pawn chain and attacks the next pawn up. And so if you cannot defend h7, then you cannot guard g6. So I take the pawn. I play h4, so now when I move my knight back to f8, he cannot guard, he cannot push his pawn forward. And now I play this nice little move, f3. I don't think I had to play like this, but I thought this was the most straightforward way to play because I thought he might be tempted. You know, I think I'm good at gaining the mentality of my opponents because I thought he might be tempted to go d4 here, giving up a pawn to win a pawn. So now this pawn is isolated. However, now I go knight f8. So I did a little trick here because now if he defends his pawn, I go king f2, king here, and if king here. Actually, I actually could also. Oh, I'm stupid. No, I just pushed my pawn to victory, right? Wait, why did I think I pushed my pawn to victory? Did he go king b3? I might have done the annotation wrong. King b3, because I swear f3 here takes, knight here, here. Yeah. Yeah, so I think I did the I think I put in the moves wrong because I think it was king b3, not king b4, because I specifically remember he couldn't push his pawn through. So I was doing this game from memory, so I think it was king b3, not king b4. But anyways, so the idea was that he can't defend the pawn. He can't defend the pawn. And so he goes king c4, probably king c3. Yeah, that's king c3, I think. And then he goes king e4. And I just go king f2. I could push my pawn immediately, but I don't have to. I can just go king f2 first, and he has no move. So this is a really nice move here to just knight f4, and where the bishop cannot protect the pawns. For example, the king e4, king f2, if king e5, for example, then h5. If he tries to defend the pawn like this, that works, except after here I would just take and push the pawn to victory here. So after king f2, if he goes bishop g4, I push h5, and he flags. Although he's completely losing, he could just resign as well. That would also work, but he lets his flag fall, and that was the game. That was the game. So I got really lucky and he told me after the game that this is the longest game he's ever played, and that really his inexperience showed. Like, he's very good. I mean, and I failed to generate anything in this game. I thought I was doing well. I gave him a weakness, but one weakness is not good enough. And I'm not a super positional player, and I'm trying to get better at positional play. And so I'm going to be interested to see where I could have gone better. I don't really know how I can win these games, or what I need to do to win these games, because I can't expect to win every game like that, especially when I go down to 4 seconds. So I really don't know what I'm supposed to do, and I am lost. I'm lost in life. I don't know what to do. But anyways, yeah, I don't know. I'm just gonna hit the game review, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace. Oh my gosh. I need to give my reaction to this. This position is actually a draw. I completely screwed it up. I completely screwed it up. King f3. I have to go h5 now. I have to go h5 now. I didn't know that. Because the idea is if I go king f2, then bishop g4, h5, king e5, the king is in time to stop the pawn. I completely missed that. And sorry if the computer's laggy. My laptop can't handle OBS now. Wow, that is insane. I can't believe I blundered it. And yeah, here I think I'm like 99.9% sure he went king b3 and not king b4, because after f3 d4 this position should have been still be winning for me, because knight of fate. Yeah, knight of fate. And I actually thought he might go f4. I thought he might go f4 and we have a pawn structure like this, but he didn't do it. But anyways, so okay. Another interesting moment is this move e4. I thought this move wasn't very good. I thought it'd just always be a weakness. But I don't know what to do. Like, let's say like rook c5. Let's say after e4, rook c5 takes, rook takes, queen takes, d5. Yeah, like why is it +1? Why is it +1? Oh, knight takes e1, and now it's +1 because this pawn is very good. But I'm not convinced that this position is that much better. So I guess a pawn is a pawn, and it's better than what I played in the game. And it basically wants white to make a waiting move. So wants h4 here, b4, rook b4, and then knight c2 to defend the pawn. And it's just arguing that, hey, this pawn is a pawn, and this pawn's pretty good. And why can't I go here? If you go here, I guess I go a4. Oh, trapping the rook. Okay, yeah, the rook can't stay there forever. Okay, yeah. Yeah, so I guess rook c5 isn't very good. So I guess if white plays it correctly, they're simply up a pawn. So I completely misevaluated playing e4. I thought I wouldn't be able to hold on to the pawn, but concretely I can. And so I guess that's something for me to keep in mind in the future. So I did get some winning positions here. b4, yeah, a3 was better. Yeah, I thought, how bad is knight b5? I thought knight b5 was very interesting. It's fine. Yeah, queen takes b4 is equal. So I didn't want to force trades like that. And knight c6 is the winning move. I mean, I thought about... Oh my gosh. I thought about knight c6. But I thought it didn't do anything. Oh my gosh. I can't believe I missed this move. The idea is you lose, you give the piece back to win another piece, and now white is up a piece and will win the game. Oh my gosh, I'm so bad. Wow. Oh wow. Okay, well, I'm gonna end it there. I'll see you guys.